In this final part of the tutorial, we will introduce string variables in the iOS system. So first we're going to declare and initialize some strings by giving them values, and then we'll change them later in the code. So first we'll give some examples of values strings can take on, and then we'll combine two strings to make one string using the concatenate function. This part of the tutorial will look at variables of the type string. Now these kind of variables are very useful for storing messages or little alerts, or basically kind of conveying text of that kind of a manner. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's create a variable of type string. Let's call this mammoth, and we're going to give it the value, first of all, mammoth interactive, and let's just have it print out for now. So what we want is to print out mammoth, and the great part about it already being a string is that we don't have to convert it to a string. Now before, to print out anything else, so numbers such as integers, floats, decimals, boolean values, we had to convert them to a string to output them. And again, that's what strings are useful for. They're good at conveying text or messages. So let's go ahead and print this out now. So we'll go to run with, we'll select the iPhone 5S, and we'll just wait for that to load here, and we get Mammoth Interactive printed out. Now strings, much like characters, can contain not just letters but numbers and symbols as well. So let me prove that to you here. I'll just change some of the values, and we'll put an @ symbol here and a couple exclamation marks, and again we'll print it out. So let's just stop that and rerun it. Again, iPhone 5S. So now we have a mixture of letters, numbers and symbols in one. And here we have it loaded and printed out. So again, very much like a character, except that characters, remember, are of only length 1. And they're used slightly differently than strings. Strings contain messages, and basically this whole thing, so this block of several characters, is treated as one unit, whereas with a character we just have, for example, character A equals A. Each letter would be only one unit. So for example, if this was represented as a character array, because that's what it would have to be, it would have many characters in it, it would be an array of length, what's this, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So this would be a character array of length 21, whereas this is only one, it's considered only one string. Now we can do some pretty cool stuff with strings. Let's just have that print out again, so we'll leave the first label as printing that out, and let's change this to message because I want to use that variable in a little bit here. So we'll create a couple more strings. We'll call this first one mammoth, and we'll give it the value of mammoth, and we'll create another string and we'll call this interactive, and we'll give it the value of interactive. So let me show you something cool. So we'll create another string, we'll call this final string. In fact, let's not even bother creating a final string. What we can do here is we can just add them directly. So we have two separate strings, mammoth and interactive. Now what we want to do is combine them into one string. Well, Xamarin Studio makes that easy with just the plus symbol. So much like integers or doubles or floats, you can just say mammoth plus interactive, and because mammoth contains a string and interactive contains a string, it will just add the two together. So let's go ahead and run this. We'll run with, it's still running, so we'll stop it first. We'll run this with the iPhone 5S again. So this is basically just taking the first string and sticking the second string right onto the end of it. So there we go, see, we get Mammoth Interactive, so it's taken the first string Mammoth and second string Interactive and just added the two together. And then up there we just have what we had before. Now, this is just one word, so we'd like a space. So what we can do is we can add in the space here. So this is just a string with the space character, and that's one thing you should be aware of. This space is actually a character in itself. So this is still a string. So now we have the string Mammoth, and then a space, and then Interactive. And we run it again, we should have it looking nice. Now we could have done this two ways. We could add in the space as a separate string, or we could have just created the string Mammoth with a space after it, or the string Interactive with the space and then Interactive. Either way, we get this nice space printed out here. And so that's pretty much it for strings. It's nice that you can add them together. You can't subtract them, however. This is just how you concatenate and add them together. And if we really want, we can change the value of strings much like any other variable. In this part of the tutorial, I introduced the string type variable. So to recap, this is basically any sequence of characters, letters, numbers, or symbols between the double quotation marks, not the single quotation marks, that are treated as one unit rather than a list of characters. So a string can be any length you desire, whereas characters are of only one length. So these are more useful for displaying long messages or text. So by now you should be able to create and assign and even reassign string values and add them together to combine strings and print them out and modify them.